Hello, what's going on, audience? Welcome to a video game review, sorry, for Professor Layton and the Last Specter for Nintendo DS. Now, before I start, I just want to say I have not played any Professor Layton games before, besides this one, so this review is all first impression, not just to the game, but to the series in general. And, second point, after playing this game, I really want the rest of the games. I honestly didn't think. I honestly feel like before playing this game, I felt like text-based games were not something that I would be into. But now I'm thinking I actually should play more text-based games because it was so awesome. I don't know if it was just these games, but like if other story-based games are like this, where you scroll through text mostly, then I want to play those games now, because, like, they're not that much fun to watch, but they're freaking fantastic to play. Like, it was like reading a really good book. Oh, sorry. I don't know. I had a mental lapse there. I seem to always have those when I make these videos. It was like reading a really good book. And I like reading. I just haven't done it a lot because I've been busy playing. This past year I haven't done it very much, but I do like reading. That's basically what I used to do a ton of before video games. But anyway, before video games and YouTube. But anyhow, let me start out by giving you a little bit of background to this. Professor Layton and the Last Specter is a series. No warning. Before I continue, there may be spoilers in this video, so you might want to turn it off now. I'm not going to put that in the description, because half the people who watch videos don't read the description. And then you get idiots in the comments saying, "Why'd you put spoilers in the video?" Even though there was a spoiler alert in the description. And then you get other people telling them that there was a spoiler alert in the description, and it's like, "God damn, shut up!" So, spoilers ahead. Professor Layton and the Last Specter is a mystery game where you play as a professor known as Professor Layton, and him along with his assistant, Emmy Altava, which I thought was a really good character. Wish they'd expanded on her more, because in the first scene, it seemed like it was going to be one of those, Professor Layton was going to be one of those, "I like to work alone" people. And she was going to be like one of those, "Let's work as a team" people, and they were going to like have a little bit of conflict, but that never happened. And they had met before, and I think Emmy's got a love interest in Professor Layton, but I haven't seen her in any other. Now, granted, this game's like the prequel, but if that plotline continues and those characters become developed more in the other games, that's fine and great. I greatly approve of that. But I've never played the other games, so from just this one game standpoint, that felt really underdeveloped. Like, other than this little backstory scene showing how they first met, and he doesn't remember, but she does. And then the opening sequence where they're in a car and stuff, it's really underdeveloped. But together they go out and solve this mystery that involves this giant monster called a Specter, and this flute that calls the Specter, and this weird town called Misthallery, where there's like this witch's mark and all this crazy stuff. And slowly they unravel the mystery and figure out what happens, and it's kind of like reading the mystery book, but it's like an interactive mystery book where you go from place to place. Although, I do wish, because there are moments where you gotta go from, like, one side of the town to the other, and they have boats to, like, take you down to the other, but there are only, like, 6 boat ports, 6 or 7, which sounds good, but there are a lot of different areas, and to go to each area, you gotta tap on the shoe icon, then tap on the arrow of where you want to go. It'd be a lot easier if you could just, like, use the arrow buttons to do it, like, be controlling what you're doing with each area with the touchpad, and then use the D-pad on the other side to move between areas. But no, it's all touchscreen based, all of it. which, I mean, I don't mind. For this game, it works well. But I do wish that you could do that. But minor complaint. Minor complaints aside, the control scheme works very well. Oh yeah, and I didn't mention, they throw in puzzles throughout the thing, like that you have to solve. Well, some of them are optional, but some of them are required. And, the puzzles, I don't really like. I like solving the puzzles, and I feel satisfied when I solve a puzzle, which I really like the animation of Professor Layton when you solve a puzzle, because he'll be like, and his voice will be playing in the background, and he'll be like, and then on the third frame, you can see, if you got it right, you'll see a little slight smile, and then afterwards he'll go, like, you got it, and for some reason, the little smile adds so much to it, because you know you got it before he says you got it. Because you'll see the smile. Sometimes it'll show animations for the other characters too, but they don't do that, so it's not as cool. But something about that little smile, I like it. But anyway, how are we already 6 minutes into this? Okay, continuing. The puzzles are really unbalanced. Some of them are, like, ridiculously easy, while others are, like, so hard that I can't figure them out, like, unless I just start randomly guessing. And then some of them there aren't really any, and all the puzzles that are a challenge I usually can beat, because, I don't know, they just feel really unbalanced, and the hints that you can buy with hint coins are usually pretty useless. Then again, I suppose that's the risk you have to take if you're going to buy hints with hint coins. Maybe I'm just not good at puzzle games, but I thought it was kind of ridiculous the way that worked. And it's funny because they said be careful with your hint coins in the beginning, but I was like constantly getting hint coins in the beginning, so I'm like, what's the harm in using hint coins? So I kind of used a lot of them abundantly, and then later in the game, I'm like, oh, I'm out of hint coins. Voopadock! And then, of course, that was at the moment where I had to go out and solve, like, I don't know, like 75 puzzles or something, and I was like, facepalm. But, yeah, the puzzles aren't really the strong point of the game. It's really the story that's the strong point of the game, in my opinion. Now, what I said about the story being like reading a really good book, that's good, but it's also bad. Because it makes the game, like, when I get into a really good book, which, because of how good video games are now, my standards for the really good book that sucks me in is much higher, because I can have a good book that used to suck me in, but now, a good book, the type of book that would have used to suck me in, but now it's so easy just to get off of the book and go to video games, so not very many books can suck me in anymore, but when I get really sucked into a book, like really sucked in to the point where it's actually better than video games, and I'm enjoying it more than video games, I finished the books like within 2 days. This game worked the same way, except for it was $30. So yeah, we got it for $30, and then I played it for like 2 days, and I was almost done with it, and I stalled, and now I don't know where the DS is or the DSK, so I haven't quite finished it yet. I'm on like well, what happened was I beat the finale, I was on the epilogue, and then I accidentally ejected the cartridge from the DS, and now I have to do the finale over again. And I kind of forgot all the answers to the puzzles in the finale, which is a shame because I remember one of them I had to randomly guess because it was so freaking hard. But I digress. That's more of a personal thing for me. That's the reason I haven't finished the game yet. I haven't quite finished the game yet, but, you know, I've basically finished the game at this point. There's not much more. There's also a side game that I have not mentioned yet called London Life. And, I don't know, it's an RPG, but it's not, so, I don't know if it gets better, I haven't played that far into it yet, so don't take this judgment, and besides, that's not the main attraction of the game. The main attraction is the Layton game, not the London Life game, so, don't let this stop you from getting the game, but, it's mostly Fletch Quest, the London Life game, because you're a guy who lives in London, and, you walk around and do stuff and more stuff, and you walk around and do stuff, and it's basically just, oh, hey, you want to get a job? Go here and get this job. Go pick up trash. There's no... the only thing that I've ever seen harm me were these weird bats that were at the graveyard and in this creepy vampire lady's castle, which seemed like they could be interesting plot points, but I haven't made it far enough in the One Life RPG. And what annoys me about it is I keep being stuck, not knowing what to do, and then having to use YouTube, which... If a game's not hooking me, like hooking me in, and it's making me use YouTube to figure out what to do, I lose interest quickly. Because having to constantly stop to use YouTube is not fun. I tolerate it with the Zelda games because it doesn't happen that often anymore. It used to happen a lot, but it doesn't happen that often. I tolerate it with those games because those really suck me in, but this London Life game hasn't really sucked me in. So, yeah, the London Life's a okay game, but like I said, I haven't played too much into it, so don't take my judgment too hard on this. But, yeah, the Professor Layton game is amazing, and there's like 5 more of them or something crazy like that. So, I'm looking forward to playing the rest of these games, because they're friggin' fun and awesome, but they feel kind of short-winded, like a good book. Except for way more expensive, which kind of sucks that it's way more expensive, but you know, it makes sense because it's a video game. Production costs are much higher, and I think I've droned on too long, so I'm going to give this game a 9 out of 10. While it wasn't the perfect game, it's weird how I rate some of these things, but then others I don't rate at all. I rate it if I feel like rating it at the end of the video. It's a weird thing, but, you know, it makes sense. Sort of. Not really. But, I digress. It's a good game. Well, it's got a couple flaws. The story is very hooking. The length is the only thing I can complain about. Although, really, I bet you it'd be a lot different if I was playing it during the school year, because I'd be busy at school or work when I'm grown up. But, yeah. Good games. I recommend you go out and get them if you like puzzles or text-based games, story-based games that really hook you in with a good story. If you're not a fan of big stories in games and stuff, like really engaging, dramatic stories, then this game might not be for you. But if story is one of your favorite things in a game, then you should check this game out. Professor Layton and the Last Specter. Arrivederci.